When your cat eats wet food every day, do you actually know what that means? Yes, it seems like you're just giving them a tastier, more enjoyable meal, but behind that simple feeding choice, there's something deeper that most people miss. It's one of the most impactful things you can do for your cat's health and emotional well-being. And if you misunderstand it, which most owners do, you might be affecting their body, their behavior, and even your bond with them in ways you never realized. Let's start with what feeding wet food every day really means. Have you ever wondered if wet food is just a treat or something more? Most people think wet food is optional, something you give occasionally for variety. Here's what's actually happening. Wet food isn't just about taste, it's about biology. Cats evolved as desert animals. They naturally get most of their hydration from their prey, not from drinking water. That means when you feed dry food alone, your cat is often living in a constant state of mild dehydration, even if they drink water. But when you feed wet food daily, you're restoring something their body expects. Think about that for a second. You're not just feeding them, you're aligning with how their body was designed to survive. And by the way, if this makes sense to you, hit like and subscribe. It helps us reach more cat lovers who actually want to understand what their cat is really saying. Have you ever noticed how your cat seems more satisfied after eating wet food? Most people assume it's just because it tastes better. Here's what's actually happening. A 2016 study in feline nutrition research found that cats who consume high moisture diets show better hydration levels, improved kidney function markers, and more stable digestion. But here's what that means emotionally. When your cat feels physically balanced, they behave differently. They're calmer, more relaxed, less irritable. Their body isn't stressed, and when their body isn't stressed, your relationship improves too. Think about that. Your feeding choice doesn't just affect their health, it affects how they feel around you. Have you ever noticed your cat rubbing against you more after meals? Most people think it's just affection or habit. Here's what's actually happening. Feeding time is one of the most powerful bonding moments in your cat's life. Researchers who study feline behavior call this resource-based bonding. When you provide high-value food, like wet food, you become associated with safety, satisfaction, and survival. Your cat begins to link your presence with comfort. And here's where it gets even more powerful. That positive association strengthens scent bonding. Your cat rubs against you, marking you as part of their safe environment. You're not just the feeder, you're part of their territory. And hey, if this makes sense to you, hit like and subscribe. It helps us reach more cat lovers who actually want to understand what their cat is really saying. Have you ever wondered why cats seem so instinctively drawn to wet food? It's not random. Here's what's actually happening. In the wild, cats hunt and consume prey that's about 70 to 75% moisture. That texture, that smell, that richness, it's hardwired into their brain. So when your cat eats wet food, they're not just eating, they're reliving an ancient instinct. This is where most owners get it wrong. They think they're spoiling their cat. But in reality, they're fulfilling something primal, something that connects your cat to their natural identity. And when you support that instinct, your cat feels more complete, more secure. Have you noticed that not every cat reacts the same way to food? Some cats get excited. Some become more affectionate. Some even wait for you specifically. Most people think this is random personality. Here's what's actually happening. Cats are selective. Studies on domestic cats reveal that they form stronger behavioral patterns around the person who consistently provides high-value resources. That means if you're the one giving wet food regularly, your cat sees you differently. Not just as someone in the home, but as their provider, their trusted source. They don't do this with everyone. They choose. And if they associate that comfort with you, it means something deeper than routine. It means trust. This is what most owners never realize. Have you ever watched your cat eat wet food and then completely relax afterward? Not just satisfied, but calm, almost vulnerable. Here's what's actually happening. When a cat eats a biologically appropriate meal, their body shifts into a state of safety. Their guard lowers, their muscles relax, their nervous system slows down. In the wild, a cat can only relax after a successful hunt, when they know they're safe. So when your cat eats wet food in your presence, they're experiencing that same feeling, but this time it's because of you. Think about that. You've replaced the hunt. You've become the source of that safety. That's not just feeding, that's trust at its deepest level. Remember earlier when I said if your cat suddenly stops eating wet food, don't ignore it? This is what I was talking about. If your cat suddenly refuses wet food they once loved, it's not just a preference change. Here's what most people don't realize. A change in appetite, especially for something highly valued, can signal stress, illness, or emotional discomfort. Animal behavior research shows that eating patterns are closely tied to a cat's sense of security. If that changes, something inside them has shifted. But this is where most owners get it wrong. They think maybe they're just bored, but sometimes it's something deeper. So if your cat stops eating wet food consistently, pay attention, because that silence is communication, and ignoring it could mean missing something important. So when your cat eats wet food every day, do you actually know what it means? It's not just about giving them something tasty. It's not just about nutrition. It's about restoring their natural biology. It's about creating emotional security. It's about building trust through something they depend on. That's not just feeding, that's connection. And that simple act, the one that feels routine to you, it was never small to them. And it shouldn't be small to you either.